Hi, my name is Michael Cohen, and I'm with Don Crawford Jr., who's been so gracious throughout the years. We did a radio show together, and now here we are on YouTube and doing podcasts. Today's topic, thank you, Don, for joining us. He always has his opinions, and so I'm glad to see whatever his thoughts might be and asking me questions as we've always done in the past. Today's topic is kind of something that's happened rather recently, or at least made me think about things. And that is, there was the heist of at the Louvre of different precious jewels, the king of Louis the 15th and other precious jewels. And so I thought, well, maybe we ought to ask, what would happen if you inherited stolen items? What if you inherited from the Louvre? Is possession nine-tenths of the law? Maybe not. Because if you inherit, then what's the story? First of all, if it's something that was stolen, is it really your title? Not really. But it could be included in your estate. It could be included in your estate. And if you had something valuable like that, or some sort of art collection, for example, it would be included in your estate. But as far as there's a private letter ruling from the IRS that said it could be in your estate for estate tax purposes, but we have the right to seize it. So what if you had a taxable estate, but you couldn't, they took the assets away to pay the estate tax? So the question is, should you be suspicious? Should you be suspicious? Well, if it was something like this or the Mona Lisa, obviously it would be pretty suspicious. But how do you know if it's something else? How does somebody even come in possession of things that are stolen? How do you know? Is it
Really true.
something new?
I just learned too about this. You and I just talked about this 5 minutes before we go on the air, and I learned about what they do. So if they steal a crown, for example, they turn it into like they would a car, and they sell it for the parts and strip it dry, so there's nothing left. And they do the same thing with a crown that they might steal, and they what are what's it called with the gun and the fire, and they fuse it all down or something like
Uh-huh,
that and
uh-huh.
just sell the diamonds and gold.
Possibly. So how would you know? How would you even know? Or maybe if you had an online auction, or maybe even any auction, maybe it was a garage sale for that matter, or maybe um, oh, gee, maybe there was Facebook Marketplace, or maybe eBay, or maybe there was some sort of Craigslist or something, one of these online things, or maybe somebody sold it to somebody, a pawn shop, and did the pawn shop look into it?
Yeah.
Uh, they're supposed to, pawn shop's supposed to.
Mhm.
But all right, so what should you do? What should you do? Well, first of all, if you're suspicious about something, you got really one of two things: either report it to the police or whoever the law enforcement agency is, or the other option is to either talk to your estate planning attorney or have it some sort of specialist who, you see on TV some of these different auction shows, and they say, oh, how do we determine what's the value of this old item, like the antique show of some sort? Well, there's experts who could determine, is this real or is this some sort of imitation.
Right.
And so you go to the experts to determine, that might not be cheap, but you could go to experts to determine if it's something real or not. I would think if you didn't have, let's say, a collection, or the person who died didn't have a collection, let's say, of artwork, and you just got one piece that was really valuable, and you didn't have any clue as to how that happened. How did he or she get that piece of artwork? Then that would raise some suspicion. Or if it is something that's very valuable to begin with, then it may raise a red flag if you didn't know anything about the history. So then you should try to find out about the history.
Right. And then the other thing too, I was thinking while you were talking was you're going to get it appraised. Let's say it's worth $1 million, but then whatever the Greek phrase is, buyer beware, caveat emptor. This is seller beware, because when you sell it, you're probably not going to get 100% of what they appraised it for.
That's true. And then you have to look at the estate tax limit. Now, luckily, the estate tax limit's going up with the one big beautiful bill. So most people won't have a taxable estate. But I suppose if it was an artwork collection, and that would be probably the most common, as opposed to the jewels at the Louvre, it would really probably be artwork. We know that the artwork has been stolen, especially during wartime, for hundreds or if not, centuries. We know that the Nazis looted artwork. There's all these movies. I think The Woman in Gold. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, and Monuments Men or something like that. There's all these movies about people looting during wartime, and so we know that that's a commonplace. And who knows? I think there's an art registry of lost items, and there's already over 700,000 items that have never been found. So,
Wow. And I wonder if he stole a lot during the Anne Frank movement too. Remember
yeah.
the Anne Frank thing? Because I remember them just throwing stuff into suitcases, and I was just so horrified for all of those people.
Yeah, well, I think that Woman in Gold was one of the ones like artwork, and it was very important to Austria, but it was stolen by the Nazis, if my memory is correct, of that movie. And so it was not an unusual thing, really, probably since, probably who knows, who knows, Crusades, they probably stole stuff way back when. Who knows? I don't know. And every war, they probably have done that. So,
Well,
so
you're
anyway,
an expert on this. You certainly know this stuff, and whatever research you did, this is very helpful. And I didn't know a lot of this too, so thank you for educating us today on what to be more aware of. And I hope people understand that when they watch this podcast, because it's very important. Tell us about the next workshop. Do you have a date for that, Michael? Because the workshops are so important for the viewers.
yes, well, the next one is going to be November 8th.
Great.
So it's coming up, but really, by the time you hear this, it may be after that date. So just stay tuned by looking at DallasElderLawyer.com, DallasElderLawyer.com. We have the dates of each workshop, or call us at 214-720-0102 if you're interested in attending a free estate planning essentials workshop. We go over things. I've never had anybody ever ask, by the way, what happens if I receive something stolen?
Right.
But still, we go over estate planning. So for the estate planning attorney, they should know if there's something valuable like that because
Right.
they could look into it and either plan from a tax perspective or to change to notify authorities or try to get it evaluated, something to determine if it's real or not. So, any event, these workshops we talk about estate planning, Medicaid, all sorts of different things. Again, if you want to go to a free estate planning essentials workshop, just call 214-720-0102 or sign up online at DallasElderLawyer.com. That's DallasElderLawyer.com.
Thank you, Michael.
How come it's